Oh, it's up here. There it is.
You got it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a millennial. If it's not in my line of view, I will.
You get
have anxiety and die.
Yes, of course. Naturally. Okay, so we are here today to talk about Inception. And we're basically just dissecting Christopher Nolan's directing style because for whatever reason, there's a population of people on this planet who are not convinced that he's great, and Charlie is among them, and I am medium. I don't know how I feel about him yet, and I hope to discover by the end of this series.
Gonna discover that you hate him so much because I've convinced you with my words.
That is possibility number 2.
No, I came into this movie. Inception was my least favorite movie of Christopher Nolan's going into this. It was better than I remember, so I'll ease up on the brakes. It's still my least favorite, but it's not. I don't actively hate it like I did. It just kind of exists now to me, which I feel is a pretty good step up.
It is. I'm proud of you.
I'm becoming less of a
I'm really happy.
gremlin.
See, I'm winning.
Yeah, no, you'll probably win this one, honestly. I don't have a whole lot. It is what I thought it was. It explains itself better than I remember it explaining itself. Obviously, it's Christopher Nolan, and it over-explains itself. But that's, when you get in line.
Which is how he extends the reality of the world, because movies cannot be the same as reality, otherwise no one would watch movies. And that is where we disagreed.
Yeah.
Because you don't think that is an extension of reality, just having very extraneous dialogue. I do. I think that's enough of an extension of reality.
I feel it shows lack of vision, I guess would be mine. I am an all or nothing kind of guy. I deal in absolutes. If you're going to do something weird, give me something weird. If I'm going into a dream, give me Dumbo, pink elephants.
You want visual.
Visual. I'm in a dream. And if I'm in a dream, it's a lot weirder than some buildings moving. Mm-hmm. It's going to be Kate Upton on roller skates going down a waterfall of lava. That's dreams.
Yeah. You want Christopher Nolan to kick down the doors a little bit more and go draw outside the lines a little bit more. Maybe a little bit too neat.
I think you're saying my thoughts better than I am. Yes, he draws inside the lines.
Yeah.
Far too much for me, and he plays it a little too safe. He explains a little too much, and this movie does all of those things, but it explains everything. It does. There's not a whole lot of as much plot holes as I remember. Mm-hmm. So I'm not here poking things like with Dark Knight. There's a lot of plot holes, even though I do like the Dark Knight movie better than this one. But with the Dark Knight movie, this one somehow has less personality to me than that one.
Interesting. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe because it had the Joker, and the Joker was a little bit...
I think so. It doesn't have... that. I think you might have tapped on something. This movie, to me, lacks that...
Yeah, and I will agree with you in that in this movie, he really kind of does tell a little bit more than he shows, especially with Cobb. We've only really heard about his past success with dream stuff. We haven't really seen it. All we've seen Cobb do is fail, and so we're just relying on the word of everybody else that he's great.
He's super unqualified. Like, why you would follow this guy into battle?
Yeah.
When his wife just periodically shows up, but then in the movie, he tells Ellen Page that no one else knows, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt saw her, and he knows who his wife is. So I don't understand. He had to have known. DiCaprio is I'm not going to sit here and everyone can praise DiCaprio. He's a great actor, but I feel like this movie really needed a performance, a true lead performance, but the plot required so much of the time that no one really got to step up and be that. And this is probably what this pod's going to cover, is primarily characters. We discussed before we started recording What else are you gonna say? We could sit here and analyze: was it a dream? Was it not a dream?
Right.
Quite honestly, I don't care
at this point. I mean, you know, let's be honest, we're a little bit behind on talking about this movie.
Oh yeah.
It's been a few years since it was released.
And this is more of a Nolan deep dive than a movie deep dive.
Heck yeah.
And for me, there's more to talk about with this characters. The plot is what it is. And that's something we talked about. Leo's character, Cobb, I'm just going to call him Leo, because it is. It's just Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. Well, there's sometimes he disappears in roles. It's not one of them. No. Not that he does a bad job by any means, but he's just being Leo. His character isn't fleshed out well in the fact that, as you were saying, we never got to see his triumphs before we see his downfall. We know him in this movie as a loser and just very bad at what he does. And if you're trying to paint him as like kind of a charlatan, kind of a guy who doesn't know what he's doing, they didn't do a good job because everyone else is around him is like, oh, he's the guy, this is the guy. So you feel like there's got to be some merit to truth to that.
Right.
Like, it would have been a more interesting movie, honestly. And I don't like when people do this in pods, just rewrite the movie, but I'm going to in a second. Like, if he was just kind of that Aladdin, like, character of like, oh, I'm lying about I have no idea what I'm doing, and kind of following that, because I feel like that would have been a little more for Leo to sink his teeth into, too.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting angle.
But he kind of just treads the middle of like, trust me, he was great, but now he's terrible.
Yeah, and he gets hired to incept Cillian Murphy's character by the guy who caught him failing.
Yeah.
The first job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because he noticed the carpet was really good. He's like, well, it's like if
that was the dude's client or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was definitely affiliated with the job that Leo fucked up.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm going to hire you again.
It's like if a painter spills paint all over your new carpet, but you're like, well, the walls look really good, so
I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Here's a
20. Maybe there's not a big field for dream thieves to choose from, but once again, all things that were not explored. We were just being told how dreams work.
But there is something to be said for starting the movie at the character's downfall, and especially with a movie like Inception and the plot that he had. He needed a lot of other time to show Leo's character's his hero's journey of
failing downward.
Yeah, but I do wish that they found something stronger and they showed us a little bit of Leo's success, gave us a little bit of a reason to root for him.
Yes.
Other than just word of mouth, like, all these other really attractive white males are telling me he's alright. I'm like, he must be fine.
Those are the two reasons I don't think this movie stands well on its own. Because every actor is a slave to the plot. Every character, I should say, is a slave to the plot. There has to be enough time for that, so you can't get big build-up. And that's that's the Christopher Nolan thing, that my drum that I keep hitting is show don't tell, and he's telling us how great he is in the same way that he tells us that Batman's not a hero, but all we see is Batman saving people. All we see is this guy failing. But you tell us differently, but everything we can see says there's somebody else. I have some thoughts on Just Gordon-Levitt. Ellen Page, she's the audience, right? She's just being talked at.
Yep.
She's
totally.
us.
Yep, she's receiving the new world and the rules, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is delivering them to her.
Yeah.
And Tom Hardy's character is the only expert.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I knew you wanted to probably talk a little bit about Tom Hardy.
Of course, because this is the movie where I fell in love with him and decided that he will be my actor forever.
It's a weird movie of all the, because I love Tom Hardy, and you should definitely be in love with him. He deserves all your love and attention and affection, but this is one he's so sidelined on. And not...
Really, though? You know, sometimes the smallest roles can have, like, the biggest impact, and he definitely stood out in this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe it is because he was the only one who seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Well, maybe that's why I think... Maybe not as an actor he was sidelined, but his character was sidelined. Like, he should have taken the lead. I think his character is kind of funny, because it's like... What if the big muscly doofus character ended up being the smartest character on the team? Like, it was like, of your heist team, you gave him way too many of the personalities.
Yes.
He's...
And I think that's just a testament to Tom Hardy, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like... I feel like all these characters are pretty one-dimensional, and then he accidentally gave his character depth.
Yeah.
And then he just seemed underused.
Maybe not accidentally.
Oh, well, I mean, at the detriment of his cast looking bad compared to him.
Yeah, you could argue that, you're never supposed to outshine the bigger actor in the scene.
Know your role, Jackie. Know your role.
But that's usually more just in terms of your volume.
Leo's
like
the big dick on set.
You can't talk louder than the biggest person in the scene. But I haven't heard about acting better.
I mean...
I feel like Leo's it was in such a groove, and Tom Hardy, this was really his breakout movie. I mean, he had done Bronson, but Inception was really the movie that people started to get to know him, and so maybe he just worked a little harder in this movie.
Well, I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm going to talk about Entourage, the movie.
Okay.
So, and I'd love to compare people to this role. And I feel like this is obviously a lesser degree because the movie's much better than... Anything's better than Entourage, the movie. But it's so bad. The movie is just... It's just cameos and people get there for a paycheck. But nobody told that to Billy Bob Thornton. Because that dude showed up ready to win an Oscar. And everyone's just... given in, they came in and sat in the afternoon and barely put on clothes, and Billy Bob Thornton's out here just working his ass off. And that's kind of what I felt like to a lesser degree of Tom Hardy in this movie. Everyone's here just spewing bullshit like Nolan. Saying lines, just Nolanisms, hitting their marks, getting their trailer ease language in, and he's out here fleshing out the henchman number 4. And that's, I guess we can flip-flop it, because I'm going to hit the other side of the cord. My boy, I love him, but not his movie, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's his fault, but he is white boy with the mouth in this movie. He is a guy in a suit whose hair is so pulled back, I thought his forehead would chafe.
Yeah. It was like he was bald and had oil painted.
He just spews things to... He has no personality. He just talks to Ellen Page.
I will say, though, that from watching it again, it seemed like a character choice. Because, I mean, and I could just be reading into it and just, like, putting intention where intention wasn't.
No, that's what we're here to do,
this
Jackie.
This is what I do. I give people the benefit of the doubt constantly. But his posture seemed, like, straighter. He seemed like he walked slower. He seemed like he had an intentional stillness to his character. Okay. And, you can only work with what you're given, and I'm sure with Christopher Nolan, he doesn't allow for a lot of improv or, straying from dialogue. It's probably pretty, like...
Unless your name's Heath Ledger.
Unless you're Heath Ledger. I mean, I don't know. I don't actually know. Do you know if Christopher Nolan...
Yeah, Heath Ledger. I know Heath Ledger he had very little scripted for him. I mean, there was obviously the dialogue, but as far as where the scene went, like it was something about.
Oh, I'm just talking dialogue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like what was written on the page was very different by the time Heath Ledger was done with it. From what I heard, I should probably do a little more research, but I do believe Heath Ledger had not very tight ropes on him. Which is, look what happens when you let an actor do what they can do.
It's not always what happens.
Well, it's not always what happens, but when you have a cast like this, I think we can trust Leo and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy. I think we can.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, I feel like that was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character was straight-laced.
Yeah.
Except the kiss with Ellen Page. That was the moment where I was like, wait, I don't know what this character
I feel like that was all Nolan. That was some weird
doing.
masculine douchebagism that
that
was some Man of Steel type shit.
And, like, and did not age well.
That's
yeah. Like, we have to.
Well, I feel like he was the voice of reason, but then he didn't have the reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was your straight man, but he's supposed to be your voice of reason, but then offered no, like, this is what we should do. All he said is, this is wrong. Kind of like what I do in this podcast. I don't tell you what you shouldn't do. I'm just telling you you're wrong. Exactly. But I do it with flavor. Like, if you're gonna be an ass, you gotta be
unique.
Well, if you're gonna be an asshole, you really gotta be more charming. Ellen Page is there. She's the audience. She's receiving all of the information that we need. And then when we're mad at Leo, she lets the audience know it's time to be mad at Leo.
Yes. Yep.
And when we're in awe of Leo, it lets the audience. She's. We all know, in my opinion, Nolan spoon feeds people.
Yes.
And she is our spoon feeder. She's telling us how to feel and when to feel it.
Isn't she the baby eating the food? Like, receiving the food? I mean, when you say spoon feeding, I'm imagining someone feeding a baby.
Yeah.
And I'm just imagining Ellen Page being the baby. Mm-hmm. And then she decides if we eat that or not.
I don't think she decides. I think she's... she is the audience, so what she's going through is what Nolan expects the audience to be going through.
I feel like Maul, played by Marion Cotillard, she kind of provides the chaos. She's the one who kind of stole the show, in a way. Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I didn't really look at it, because I'm a toxic masculinity, male, so I don't see, when I watch movies, clearly I don't see women as equals. I joke, obviously. And you have no desire to grow or change from that?
No, God, no. No. I'm just completely closed off. This is why Michael Bay's the best director. No, I joke. No, that's a really interesting point, because I guess, once again, like, the plot is so heavy. I just viewed her as a plot point the whole time, which is kind of a tribute to her acting. Like, that she blended in the dream so well. Yeah. That she really disappeared.
So good. Like, she's one of those characters to me, like Heath Ledger, where it's like she's just an actor that's on a different level.
And I feel that's where she got to do what the other actors didn't get to do. She's in the dream, so she really gets to chew on the scenery. She gets to be the weirdo. She gets to be jumping out of windows and being crazy. Spoilers. But yeah, and so, like, I guess I wish more that, because they have a great cast, I'm not gonna, you can't sit here and say Tom Hardy, DiCaprio, Ellen Page, no, they're all terrible. No, they're all they're all amazing. So I guess I wish they all could have gotten to do what she did.
Yeah.
Because she really got to cut loose, and everyone else is just hair gel and suit and ties. But yeah, I feel like this movie is the safest of all of them. Because, and as much as for a later season, Tim Burton, I'm sure we both have thoughts on him, but the world has thoughts on him. But I want to kind of show me the madness a little bit. This is a dream world. Like, go a little. What's the line from Batman 89? Let's get nuts.
Nuts. Yeah. And I know we don't want to talk about plot, but I feel like he could have used the time in the winter level of the dream world. He could have used that 30 minutes of screen time on something a lot different and a lot
Let's dive into this.
better.
Sorry. I feel like we kind of weirdly agreed on this.
Yeah.
Did we not like the action very much?
We did not like the action
and
very much.
I feel like that could be an us problem, but also why didn't we like the action, Jackie? Because I don't know. I know we both felt this way, but you be my therapist. Tell me why I'm feeling these things.
Okay. Well, I think this is really out there.
Yeah.
But my first gut reaction... Let's get nuts here, alright? My first reaction is that they're all wearing helmets and we can't see their faces.
No, that's...
And, like, their costumes they're all wearing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, like, a little bit disorienting. And it's just it's a disorienting environment to process and absorb in the middle of a disorienting plot, and then to not show us any emotional guideline, I guess. Like, everything was fucking blank. Like, it was white. There was white snow. Everyone was wearing white. There was no... I don't remember what the soundtrack was doing, but I felt like that there was like...
It was Hans Zimmering.
Yeah, but there just maybe wasn't enough guidance of like how to feel about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I do kind of like your that helmet thing. I feel like speaks to our disconnect.
Can't see their faces.
And we're already so disconnected to these characters.
Right.
You're like, we're watching the stormtroopers, like, that we're watching the nobodies.
Yeah, and it's also weird because it's like it's the subconscious that's chasing them, so you kind of feel like they're robots. Mm-hmm. So you don't really feel any emotional connection. Not that you do really for like the bad guys who are chasing you anyway, but like especially they feel like foreign.
Yeah, we
and I'm more just like curious as to like if they're subconscious, how do they go to motorcycle school? Do they have a history, or what are their families like? Like, what do they do?
Yeah,
why are they there?
They're completely artificial.
Are they acting on orders, or do they have like personal vendettas?
Yeah.
These are the questions that I want answered.
Jackie wants a spin-off where we go into the background of your subconscious little people in your head. All the voices in your head have a backstory. Jackie's going to find out what it is. I feel like that's definitely an element. I feel like the stakes aren't well defined. Like, they tell you what they are. We'll go to limbo. But, like, by this point in the movie, I feel like there's two main issues for me, at least. The first is kind of that, like, in this point in the movie, we're like, wait, if they die, how many times do they go before they go to limbo? If these guys kill them, do they die?
Well, Leo got out of limbo, so
yeah.
That's the big deal.
And he's only messed up a little bit, like.
Right.
And in addition to that, like, I also, if I remember correctly, it's pretty far into the movie where we've been just shoveled with exposition.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're all of a sudden, like, shooting at each other, and you're like, what? Like,
this is level 3.
It's like doing paintball after midterms. Your head hurts and you want to go home. It's too much action after so much studying. Like,
oh my God, that's a great analogy. Yeah. No, for sure. And the only thing we have to go off of is someone gets shot.
Yeah.
The guy who hires Leo, who's now his friend, is like
Ken Jeong.
been
Let them fight.
Shot, and he's gonna go into limbo.
This movie made me want to watch Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's really what my takeaway was.
The whole winter thing,
Mm-hmm.
just what that didn't. I get that they wanted a change of scenery, but make it like the woods or something.
Yeah.
Like, don't make it winter.
It's one of those movies, like, as much as I hate remakes, I'd kind of like to see this one remade. Like, this feels like kind of like a weird rough draft. Like, I'd like to see it condensed and cleaned up a little bit. Like,
Yeah, rewrite it and turn it back in.
Yeah, like, good effort. I really like the direction. Let's get our final take.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a weird director's cut of just
Yeah.
You didn't need to include everything, Christopher. Like,
yeah. So are you the man for the job? Are you gonna?
Yeah,
do it?
I'll get on it. I mean, I feel like...
Show don't tell.
Well, when I was watching this movie... But that's exactly like... I kind of had this epiphany. Not an epiphany, because I don't know if it'd work. But I'd love to do this experiment. Like, what if they reshot this movie, redid a cut exactly the same, but they told you nothing about... They told you they were going to go into a dream, but then said nothing else about how the dreams work.
Yeah.
Like, what if they explain... Instead of explaining something... Like, what if they explain nothing? Like, what would this movie...
It would be a lot of interaction with the subconscious, I bet. A lot of interaction with, like...
Or it would be us watching Ellen Page do all these things, and us trying to figure out what the hell and why the hell she's doing it. Mm-hmm. And then later on realize it's for this heist. And she's the architect. And if that could all be explained by just us watching it.
Yeah.
But it's not, because Christopher Nolan doesn't trust his audience.
Interesting.
I said I wouldn't get into this,
I agree with you
but
on this one. Yeah. I mean, I still just really enjoy it because sometimes I do like a cookie cutter movie. I like to.
Well, it's ambitious.
Have a movie, like, just take me on a ride that I can predict, and I know isn't going to be traumatic or scarring in any way, shape, or form, as some formats these days can be. You know, just take me on a safe journey.
Yeah,
and plop me down on the other side. I can go home.
And I enjoy those movies too, and this is where we kind of talk about, and why we're doing the podcast entirely. If Christopher Nolan was just known as like a director, but like this is a movie that was up for Oscar noms. This is held to the standard, and if you have such a creative plot like this, I guess my expectations are higher. If you're going to reap the rewards of being one of the greatest, you got to put out the product, in my eyes. And that's not just movies, it's just everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you would say that an award-worthy filmmaker is eclectic.
Yes. Like, you just... If you... It can be a good movie, but admit it, it's kind of safe. And for... And I'm fine with safe movies. Safe. But, like, it's such an interesting plot. Like, could you have used one of your B plots if you're going to write a safe movie?
And that will probably... I'm curious for our next episode, where we're going to talk about Interstellar. I hope.
I've never seen Interstellar.
Because it's another one of his movies that's a very interesting plot.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it.
A lot of people didn't, and... I don't just because I'll look like the biggest contrarian in the world. Yeah. But I've never seen it.
You probably won't because you don't want to like it.
No, I know. I'm not that basic. If I like it, I'll admit I like it. I have an independent mind, Jackie.
I'm unique.
I'm unique. I'm an artist. So I feel like I'm going back to the movie we were talking about, Inception. And I'll compare it to The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight, I'm harder on it because it's so close to being there. I want it to be good. There was more ambition with the Joker character. I didn't love Christian Bale's performance, but I saw what he was trying to do, you know. And so that's where, and it's viewed as such a cornerstone of Hollywood that it kind of annoys me. But you can see what it's going for. Mm-hmm. With this movie, I feel like, based on Christopher Nolan's storytelling levels and what he decided this movie was going to be, it is what it is. It can't really... He kind of hit max, you know. If that's the best you can get out of that cast, that's the best you can get out of this plot. Okay. Yeah. But I feel like, I'll compare it to Avatar, that James Cameron movie. Like, it just got beaten for highest grossing ever. Yet, no one really talks about it or remembers it. It was kind of an oddity when it came out. It was a new ambitious thing, but I feel like this one too just doesn't have a whole lot of holding power.
Interesting. Yeah, over time, you mean you think it'll just
I think it'll be
out?
Very dated. Not only because they're dressed like people in the early or the late 2000s, and that's just so like everyone is dressed in that.
Or it could become a classic period piece. You know?
I mean,
like, whoa, look at like the funny shit people thought like was gonna go around with dreams. Like, maybe we'll have some crazy dream technology in the future, and they'll think back on this movie. And it'll just
maybe.
Fun.
But I don't feel like this movie ever is trying... Like, it's not set in a distant future or anything, I don't think. It's just kind of set in this...
No, I know. I'm talking about, like, people in the future watching it. Like...
I could see that. And I feel like this movie will always be respected for its ambition. But it's just kind of... Much like the tone and the screen, it's just... And everyone's outfits, it's kind of gray. It's kind of a gray movie.
Yeah. So...
Final thoughts, Jacqueline?
I mean, I kind of agree with you, I think, on this one. I do wish that it explored the characters more, but I respect the fact that it just was exploring something bigger, which was the plot, I think. And, like, it's not a very exciting movie when it comes to characters, but I think for its time, it was exciting in a different way.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a theater movie. It's a big blah theater movie.
For its time, for when it came out.
All right. Next week next episode, Interstellar, the movie with Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway is one of the... We are gonna talk about Anne Hathaway because I love her.